Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Please Hustle Responsibly podcast. I'm here today with Christina Magro, and we are joined by Othón and Damián from Know Us Without You in LA. Before we start talking to them and the wonderful work that we're doing, I'm going to do a mental health check-in with Magro and see how she's doing. Mags, how are you?
You know what? I'm doing great. The sun is shining in Chicago and we're having fake spring right now. So it's been 60 degrees for 2 days. So we've been talking about dibs. You see like all of the remnants of dibs now on the side of the street, just like broken chairs and shit everywhere. But I think vitamin D does wonders for my soul, and being able to like open up the windows and kind of air out winter was really nice. So I'm feeling good. How are you doing, Matt Cole?
I'm good. I'm also enjoying this like warm weather. Like the past 2 days, getting up into 60 degrees after a hellacious snowy couple weeks or months or however long that period of time was. And as Chicago does when it gets warm, everything gets busy again, pandemic or not. So just adjusting to that at work and getting ready for what the summer is going to bring us. Othón and Damián, how are you guys doing today?
Uh, I'm hanging on like a hubcap in the fast lane, man, but we're pushing over here. I'm doing well. I had a rough start this morning, but I got over the hump, and we're helping families. That's all that matters.
Yeah, like Damián said, doing well. I got my first shot of COVID vaccine yesterday, so feeling like I got beat up, but like Damián said, just time to get back to work and not feel sorry for ourselves.
Straight up.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We're really excited. The work you guys are doing out in LA is super important, taking care of the vital backbone of the hospitality industry, the often unsung heroes in our undocumented family. Before we start talking about Know Us Without You, can you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you started in hospitality, how you guys cross path and the work that you're doing before pandemic and where you're at now?
Of course. So I myself, I'm not an LA native by birth. I'm from the Bay Area originally. I moved out here to LA about 10 years ago from a little town called Vallejo. So Vallejo is a town between Oakland and Napa. So it can get a little ratchet, but you still have the farm to table aesthetic. So we're kind of an anomaly. I had an opportunity to move out to LA. I started out doing the whole acting thing, like pretty much everyone and their mother out here. But I had a chance at fate when I had an opportunity to go work at a place that needed a bar back. Prior to me leaving, I worked at a hotel over in Berkeley as a server, as a busser, as a dishwasher. So hospitality was my thing prior to my arrival. So then once I moved out here and became a bar back, that was my intro to the bar world. Fell in love with it. The idea of exchanging stories and exchanging shots. Then I started working at a cantina, little Mexican joint adjacent to Skid Row, borderline arts district. And that's when Othón and I met. He managed the bar. I was lead bartender there. And then the rest is history. So I'll go ahead and let, you want to chime in now?
Yeah, actually, Damián worked there first. I walked in and he was the first person that greeted me and offered me a glass of water when I asked to speak to the general manager because I had a meeting with him. So Damián and I have been friends for almost 8 years now, and I'm from Los Angeles, Boyle Heights to be exact, which is a big deal to me. It's the largest. It's kind of, I guess you compare it to Pilsen in Chicago, except that Boyle Heights started as like the Mexican American epicenter. There's more Mexicans in Boyle Heights than anywhere else in the world besides Mexico. So our office is located in Boyle Heights, and our hospitality company is Vala. Everyone thinks it's like a Spanish word. They always ask us to translate it, but it means Vallejo to LA. So VA, Damián, and LA, me. We started working at Ixta, this Mexican restaurant, together, and then we went over to Everson Royce Bar, ran that, and just kind of got our feet wet and really grew as hospitality consultants. And when the pandemic shut everything down, that's when we kind of pivoted to Know Us Without You LA and got that going. But same thing like Damien, my first job was dishwasher and hospitality, and it put me through college. And yeah, here we are.
Hell yeah. Do you guys want to tell us a little bit about Know Us Without You?
Sure. So as Othón had mentioned, we were caught up with a bunch of clients pre-pandemic. You know, we were full steam ahead with several projects, and then COVID hit just about a year ago, and we were left without work. So at that time, we started seeing a bunch of GoFundMe's, charity drives for front of house workers. You know, our hospitality industry, our sector has been probably one of the hardest hit during this pandemic. That's pretty much everyone understands that. But what we started seeing is there was zero representation for the back of the house sector within the hospitality community. So instead of getting mad, we always want to be productive. We were a little pissed off at first, but that's not conducive to anything, right? So it was like, yo, let's figure out a way to help our friends, because people forget, like, before all this, like the back of the house sector, they're homies, they're compadres, they're comadres. You know, we would invite, as like an Everson Royce bar, for example, we would all go out to have a beer after work, as we all do. And we'd be like, hey, compadre, ¿quiere venir con nosotros? Like, you want to come with us? Like the dishwasher or the line cook at that time. You know, and oftentimes they'd say no because they have families and stuff, but sometimes they'd be like, you know what, absolutely. So we'd go across the street. We wouldn't allow them to pay, just to give them a full sense of hospitality, because oftentimes they don't get the invite because there's this natural separation between front and back of the house. So then we started reaching out to these friends when the pandemic hit, and our fellow restaurateur and chef friends as well. And we're like, hey, how's your back of the house? So before you know it, we have 10 families that we reached out to. We started coordinating. Othón and I, we put our money together. We went over to local purveyor market and bought as much as we could with the money we had. And we made these kits, these meal kits with the rice, with the beans, with these essential items that are familiar with this sector of, or this community, I should say, you know? So then at that point, it just doubled in size for the following week. And then people started getting wind of what we were doing. And I'm happy to say that almost 12 months later, which we're hitting our 1-year anniversary soon, this month, we're at 1,600 families that we're assisting, including
Every
the
week.
original, every week, 1,600 families a week, including the original 10 families that we started out with. You know, people think that we just open it up to everyone that comes at our distribution sites, but this is all based on a reservation and confirmation system each and every week thus far.
Damn, that's a hell of a lot of growth. How's keeping up with that been?
I mean, we have a support staff. We have our volunteer staff that helps us. I mean, with 1,600 families now on a weekly basis, as Othón said, that's over 150,000 pounds a week that we're pushing. You know, and the staff that we have, these are our friends as well. They've helped run amazing bar programs. They're also back of the house. We have a couple chef friends as well, including our delivery drivers, which we can get into a little later. But you know, we've worked alongside of these people. We've done events with them, and we trust them, because at this point, we can all agree that this is more of a lifestyle choice. You know, it's not like they're just volunteering for a few months. You know, the majority, if not, I would say almost every single one, has been here since almost day one, since we started bringing in the volunteer staff, once we got to that threshold that we crossed. So they know that it's a lifestyle choice. They know that they're not going to be going to Vegas to go party on the weekend, or going to underground warehouse parties here in LA, you know, things like that. We take all the necessary precautions to not compromise what we work so hard for each and every week. And they know that.
That's amazing. Do you think that Know Us Without You is here to stay forever? Is this the long-term part of your projects?
Definitely, it's not something that we ever thought about doing for a few months and then just quitting and going back to normal life. It's something that I feel like Damián and I, we talk about it all the time. We've kind of led a life of service before this. We consider ourselves professional servants, and it's like we have a whole new life in the service industry now. You know, doing something for free, and doing something when people who have never asked for help in their lives and now need just little assistance, just to make it through these tough times, like so many Americans. We treat it like a real business. It's an LLC, it's a 501c3. It's not something that if magically tomorrow we snap our fingers and COVID ends and everything went back to the way it used to be, which it's not, that we would stop caring about food security. And I'll let Damián talk more about our other programs that we have, but the food security will always be the foundation. And if you think about it this way, all of us who are fortunate enough to get unemployment benefits, and I know they vary from state to state, but we've gotten stimulus checks and we're okay. I'm not saying anyone's getting rich off of unemployment, but we're okay. At least the bills are getting paid. These families have nothing. They get none of that, even though they pay into the system. So for us, in the near future, when places do reopen, if we can provide food security for the families so that they can at least not spend what little money they're earning on food, and they can use that to dig out of the hole of debt that they've incurred the last 12 months, then we're more than willing to do that.
Yeah, that's incredible. And so it's so important to just, and we talk about community on here a lot. It's such a huge and important aspect of, of our hospitality industry, of what we do. And, oftentimes we see a lot of people that are just expecting the community to serve them without being involved in the community themselves.
Right.
And like, this is amazing. And really taking care of our families. Do you guys have any intentions of spreading outside of LA?
I think right now, Othón and I can both agree. I mean, if the opportunity hits later on, absolutely. But we are trying to really hone in on what it means to reach our full capacity here within Los Angeles proper, so that we can keep executed efficiently and reach as many Angelinos as that we can. For right now, and what I mean by hone in, because like what Othón mentioned, we do have other added resources. Our base resource, what our mission statement states, is that we're going to help you find some type of food assistance. That's what we're doing day in and day out. So at bare minimum, that's what you're going to get once you get vetted and qualified. But there's other resources. So I would say about maybe a month in to the whole organization, that once we started, there was this woman that would always come in late, and Othón and I would always be like, what the hell, what's wrong with this lady? Like, why is she always coming late? And she's always giving reasons. And finally she mentioned to us that she has no one here, all her family's in Central America, and she's afraid to catch the bus because she's a little older. She's more susceptible to getting COVID and higher risk. So she walked from where she lived in Westlake MacArthur Park to one of our downtown locations, which is about almost 5 miles. Okay. So she told me, like, with tears in her eyes, like, look, I'm so sorry, but there's nothing else I can do. And she made Othón and I realize, like, or very early on, we can't streamline this as much as we would like to, because it's such a complex thought, right? So we were like, let's start delivering. Let's figure out a route. Let's figure out a route to get to this woman, and also ask and tune in, because you're talking about building a sense of community, all inclusive, right? Let's see who else needs to get delivered to. Let's see why so-and-so over here is getting like not coming in or coming in late, So that opened up the floodgates to our level of understanding that there's other ways that we can and shall and should start to help. So the first delivery route was born. At this rate, almost 12 months in, we're delivering all over LA County. We have 17 delivery routes at this moment. We have 2 volunteer drivers per route. So that's over 30, almost 40 delivery drivers that we have, aside from our core volunteer staff that helps us in the field. We go up north as far as Sylmar. From downtown, it's like an hour and a half, roughly, depending on traffic, could be 2 hours, believe it or not. We go far as
LA County's really big.
It's huge,
Yeah, it's
you
like
got
900 square miles.
So we're all over, east to west, north to south. That's one other resource that we've added in. We're also helping with tutoring. We have a number of students that we're helping with our tutor, Fabia Salazar. She's a student out of Cal State LA that's been helping us for almost throughout the whole pandemic. And we've also started our study hall program. So we're opening up this tutoring resource for all the kids part of our program. So on a weekly basis, we're letting every single family know that within 30 minutes, we can allocate 30 minutes on Wednesdays to your child with homework help. So now these kids, not only do they have that added resource, but they are able to sustain their education, and it relieves a lot of pressure off the parents themselves, especially because there's an initial language barrier, you know. And what if you know the language, but you don't know this level of math because you have a 5th grade education? So we have that. We have a job resource center that we're helping them out with as well. We're allocating jobs as best as we can. Right now, with like this contraction and expanding effect that LA County has, or specifically, you know, it's hard to keep up with who has a job and not. But for the most part, it's safe to say that everyone pretty much needs a job right now. So we're able to keep a hold of that. We're also in talks right now to add counseling, which is hugely important. This is also a way for us to bridge the gap of mental health awareness, especially in such a stigmatized community within the Latinx sector. These are all things that we
And
want
to
to keep
answer your
adding
question,
into. Yeah, go ahead, Othón.
sorry, to answer your question. So we've been asked if we ever want to expand this anywhere else in the United States, and you know, we've given the playbook. We did not go to school for this, and every time someone asks us how we can do this and how can I help in my city, we'll give it the playbook. It's not very difficult. You know, we were fortunate that we had a little bit of infrastructure. We already had an office. You know, we already had a business license with the city, so we're able to kind of like, you know, circumnavigate a few things. But at the end of the day, it was really just our family, our friends, and our former coworkers coming together to help people. So if you want to email us, we'll give you the playbook. Anyone can do this in the city.
Hell yeah. I mean, it sounds like you're expanding to meet the needs as you're finding things that need to be covered, which is incredible. So, because obviously, like, food security is not the only thing that is affecting everyone in this, especially our undocumented family who has like so much other things to worry about because they don't get any kind of assistance.
Correct.
Are there any other unexpected things that you guys have learned as you were starting this?
I mean, I think we learned by all our mistakes. The first big mistake we made was that, you know, we had our core 10 families coming to our office in Bull Heights to pick up food, and our now merchandise director, who's our good friend Daniel Zarate, pointed out that, like, what the fuck are you guys doing? You know, ICE can just like Google where your address is at, and you're like posting on Instagram. Like, you can't expose people to this type of threat. So I think the biggest thing we've learned is that let's not make a mistake by turning something that's good into a negative. You know, just because your heart's in the right place doesn't mean that you can't hurt people. So from that day on, probably the biggest thing we learned was that we, like Jamie will tell you, we treat it like a drug deal. Everything's appointment based. We change the locations all the time, and people get in, they get out, they're very safe. We go out of our way to make it as convenient for the families that we serve, even though it might add, you know, hours or be more inconvenient to our lives. Like, we don't have to worry about getting deported, they do. So from that point on, we made it a focus to always make sure the families dignity, health, and safety were paramount.
Well, how do people in your community get involved with Know Us Without You?
There's different ways. You know, thank you to social media and our transparency. Our media director, first off, Mel Castro, she's been an amazing, not only friend, but an asset to the organization by cataloging and taking pictures and making these beautiful films for us so that the community can get involved and truly see what it is that we're doing. Because of COVID right now, I mean, in an ideal world, yeah, we would love more volunteers and more people, more hands on deck. But at this point, we can't allow for that. So aside from monetary donations, it's spreading the word of our cause. People can definitely donate and help sustain our efforts on our website on knowuswithoutyou.la. For folks that really want to get involved and try and get their hands involved, we have deliveries, as I mentioned, and we're always adding in routes. That does take some time to coordinate, I'll tell you. So anyone that's interested that lives in the area, that lives in LA County, can DM us in that regard. But just to remember and to reiterate that this is a lifestyle choice. So it's not like you can volunteer for a week and then you're like out partying or doing God knows what. So definitely, that's definitely a way to get involved with us for sure.
How do we as a hospitality community better serve our undocumented family?
I think that it begins with, you know, treating them as equals and as co-workers and peers. Getting to know people's names. I mean, I know so many people that have reached out to Damián and I, you know, saying, hey, like a few of my, you know, back of house staff need help. And it's like, cool, can you give me their names to connect us? And like, they don't even know their fucking names, you know? It's pretty sad when you don't even know the people that run your kitchen's names. But, you know, I get it. We can look backwards or we can focus on the future. And I think the big part is just being aware that we have this immense amount of fortune and privilege to work front of the house and to get tips. You know, I think tips should be equally spread out across the whole restaurant or bar. There's no reason that a server needs to make $62 an hour and a dishwasher should make $7. You know, there's a way for everyone to make money, right? And we could all rise up together that way. I think that's my opinion. Damián, like, what do you think? Add to that?
I totally agree with Though. And also just like he mentioned, and I'll reiterate, just get to know your back of the house staff. They're not robots. You know, I talk to each and every single individual from our organization on a weekly, if not daily basis. Yeah. And the common ground, the common denominator more so what they keep reiterating to me is that they feel invisible. They feel neglected, not just by the government, but also by their immediate peers within that restaurant, that bar, that hotel. You know, I can't tell you how many times in my previous experience I've mentioned this to the dishwasher, and people that we work with don't even know that person's first name or what their story is. Just breaking that threshold of understanding, like, hey, like, how you doing? Like right now, COVID has allowed for this to be almost like a reset button to repivot and reapproach the way we handle those situations, so that when we get that new job, if anyone's listening, like if you're a bartender, you're a server, you get that new gig, that's a fresh, clean slate to go ahead and start building a relationship with that individual, that person, that man, that woman in the back of the house, whether they're a line cook or a porter. Like, hey, fulano, fulana, how's your day? Getting to know them so that they don't feel ostracized by their own community. And then as we were talking about building a real sense of community.
And how do we as Americans, as a nation, better serve our undocumented community? Like as for people who are listening who don't have the daily interactions of working in restaurants with these people, like, and you know, see whatever, you know, representation on the news as to what our undocumented community is like, how do we make things better for them?
We have to remind ourselves.
Damián and I.
Go ahead, Pops.
Damián and I are both sons of immigrants, you know, and let's be honest here. America was built by immigrants, and I don't know when that changed, when it became, you know, this common thing to like be so xenophobic and focus on like me and what I need and like fuck everyone else, like figure it out, learn English, you know, you're not a citizen. There's so, I mean, let's think about a business standpoint. If you were to make everyone that's not a citizen and tax them, like from a business standpoint, that would be a lot more money for everyone. Like there's just so many positives that I think that people are unwilling to really face because they don't have the interaction, and they don't, all they see is like the stereotypes and the negative, and they don't focus on the good things. You know, if your mechanic was from Bolivia, you know, and he was like the greatest mechanic ever, like would you give a shit that he was from Bolivia? You know, I don't even think you would see that. You would just see that person for their skill.
And I also want to say to write on his coattails, you know, it's like we have to remind ourselves. And when I say we, I mean the nation, specifically here in California. It's like we remind ourselves where our produce comes from, where the labor comes and stems from, right? It's like you like Caesar salads, cool. Chances are there's an undocumented individual that picked that lettuce. You know, you like wine, fantastic. I love Cab. Okay, who picked those grapes? And you know, and it goes beyond that. It's this whole food supply chain, from logistically who packages it, who delivers it to the restaurants and hotels, who preps and cleans and cooks, pre-pandemic, who runs this food over, who, after you're done scraping the plate, who takes this dirty dish and who washes it in the back. And at the end of the day, at 2, 3 in the morning, who's there rummaging through garbage to get recycled, or at the local gas station to get the plastic bottles out to put it back into the system. You know, it's a whole chain of command that is lubricated by our immigrant population. And I think if we just remind ourselves or just grow an awareness for it, I think we would be more tolerant and acceptant more so of this community.
I agree.
I have a question that might be naive, and maybe we should cut this out after, but I've thought about it a lot. And why aren't more, like, is it possible to sponsor people who work for your business, even though they're undocumented, to become citizens, so that they don't have to worry about the threat of being deported? And if so, why isn't that practiced more?
By sponsor, you mean
I
in
mean,
what
people
way?
have
Like,
to
I mean, like,
sponsor
so
the
I don't know
citizenship.
if that's, I don't know. Yes, exactly. I don't know if that's the right term, but like when I was abroad, I was offered a sponsorship to stay as a working
Work
non-citizen.
visa.
mhm,
Yes, exactly.
okay.
Yeah, that is something that, you know, goes back to what we're talking about. You would actually have to respect the work that people are doing to care enough to do that. You know, like I know my brother lives in Canada, and that was a big thing. He had to get a work visa after graduating from college to get a job, and you need a business to sponsor you. I think it just goes back to that. You actually have to care about the people who are an integral part of your business for that to happen. No one's gonna make people do that.
Mhm. I think just from speaking with you guys for this short amount of time, I can see how much you guys care about not just the people that you're working with, but also like the work that you do and every aspect of it. When I was looking through your guys' website, I saw at the top, "Give a shit,"
Give a
uh,
shit.
and I just, you know, I that really stuck with me. And as I was like reading up on you guys and trying to like, you know, figure out where the conversation was going to go, I just want to know, what does that mean to you?
Be empathetic, be compassionate. Don't be afraid to do the work. You know, if you don't, then who will at this point? And if we don't, who will? It's leading by example and making sure that this community knows that we have their best interest, that we do take their identity and their security as a top priority within this organization. You know, have a level of compassion that we would normally not have. I mean, you walk down in Chicago downtown, you see a homeless individual, you walk right past them, because then odds are the next block over, you're going to see another homeless individual. And I mean, do you say hello? Do you say hello to everyone? Do you pick and choose? These folks feel invisible. When people feel invisible, it doesn't matter if you're homeless or not. For going back to my point earlier, like this undocumented sector within our own community, they feel that. They feel that level of invisibility, although we have the nerve to label them essential. It's like, okay, now that America's back against the wall, we want to label stuff. Like, you get back to work. I want this. I want that. You're essential. You have to get back to work. Well, let's just treat them as such.
Mm-hmm.
Let's treat them as such, because they've been essential way before the pandemic. They're extremely essential during the pandemic, and they're going to be continuing to be essential moving past it. So just that sensibility, just that idea of compassion and empathy to make sure that we have their best interest in mind.
Have you guys found any kind of positives coming out of, the changes that have happened in the past year from COVID-19?
I think that it's allowed us to see like the real people for who they are and always were, and the fucking phonies and fakes for who they always were. Everyone that we love and respect in this industry in LA has helped us in so many ways, and it's those texts, it's those emails, the phone calls, like, what do you guys need? How can we help you? And it's been great. A part of our success is because our friends, like Damon and I, don't have any money, but we're rich in friends, and they have all helped us at one point or another. And then there's the other people that have made promises that either they were excited about and maybe just overpromised. I get it, that happens, and couldn't deliver, or they just straight up quit. And when it came time to deliver, they chose not to. So I think that there's a reason why the LA on my hat is upside down. LA is dying, like I'm sure many cities are, but with death comes life, right? The cycle. So you're gonna see that this city where so many people come to make it, right? Like if New York City eats its young, then in Los Angeles, only the strong survive. So you either come here and you make it, or you go back to live wherever you came from, whether it's Des Moines or a big city, and that's it. You had your shot and you didn't make it. So I think that's what's going to happen in Los Angeles. That the contraction is going to be so severe, with so many people losing their establishments, losing their lifelong dreams. That, like, my hope personally is that if you walk into a bar in a year from now, or a restaurant, that the best people are going to be working there. That you're not going to have fake hospitality people. You're going to have like true professional servants and people that just want that experience that you're about to have to be amazing.
Oh yeah. What does the state of mental health and hospitality look like to you?
I mean, just that. Okay, so let's start with this bartender position, right? We have that idea of like living like a rock star, getting fucked up every day after work, smoking cigarettes, taking shots, working crazy hours, going to sleep late, all that.
I feel
we have to check.
attacked. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm one of those. I'm basically explaining, like describing myself, I'm gonna drop amidst this ocean of hospitality, right? But it's like, let's check in on one another, man. Let's see, like, if you're not good, well, let's talk about it. Let's get you some type of help. Let's if you need a clean slate to write on, like, just take it all out on me. Hospitality, we give ourselves so much to people. Our energy, our pure personal energy is like, what do you want? Are you okay? Is there mushrooms on there? Would you like some more? Do you want to make that a double? And you're trying to please everybody all day, every fucking day. Well, what about you? What about the person when you clock out? What does that mean? How does that affect an individual? So let's just check in on one another. I'm not saying like, let's all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Fuck that shit. It's more so like, I can tell you're not okay. When you're ready, fucking talk to me. And then once that's set aside, like following up the next day or the next week, hey, how you doing? Or like, yo, here's some chicken soup for the soul, cabron. Like, I left it at your fucking door. That person that knocked on your door, that was me. I didn't text you, but fuck, I don't want you to say no to my offering because of pride or some stupid shit. I think it's time. This whole pandemic, everyone's talking about mental health awareness and all this. That's dope, but let's put it into practice. How Othón and I and our team puts it into practice every day for the labor portion. If we're talking about this muscle up here that we have to train every freaking day, let's make sure that everyone is able to sustain themselves day in and day out for the long haul. I mean, I have to remind myself. Othón tells me like, "Pops, are you good?" Like just this morning, like one of our really good friends, Cedric, was like, "Are you good?" I'm like, "Fuck no, not right now, but I will be." And I see the light. And when my friends, my colleagues check in on me, I'm gonna be all right. And I only say this because of the amount of volume of conversations that we have with these families, and all their issues become our issues. But what about us? What about how we're feeling? You know, there is no us without you, without us. You know what I mean? We have to make sure that we're okay. So for the hospitality sector, let's just check in on one another, text each other, call each other, FaceTime each other. And when we're working alongside each other, like really legit, let each other know that we're here for one another.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much of, you know, that work that we have to do ourselves for each other because it's not really readily available from anyone else, and it's certainly not really talked about very much in our industry.
It's not, and people want to go and turn to like substance abuse and pop some pills, and you know, that's another whole other battle. That's a whole other issue that could be its own episode. You know?
Yeah,
Right.
well, that's the easy way, right? That's the way that we've been told that we do it for forever.
It's a vicious cycle, and then we just find ourselves like pouring from an empty cup, not really
Right.
refilling this cup, but you know, using really unhealthy coping mechanisms to alleviate the stress that we find every single day because we are taking better care of the folks in front of us than we are ourselves. So it's like until we kind of break this cycle and destigmatize hospitality work and the way that we're treated within that culture, we're just going to keep perpetuating the same systems. So just like you said earlier, it's like we do have a reset right now. Although COVID is unfortunate and this pandemic is terrible, we have the opportunity because we've had a year to think about all of the things that are fucked up and how they should change. And you guys are just doing so much. It is extremely inspiring.
For real.
Thank you.
I mean, obviously, COVID has really like put a spotlight on so much of what the hospitality industry is, and like so many of the bullshit things that we've carried for years, because that's just the way that it has been. From, you know, like a lot of things that we talked about today, from, you know, just disregarding the people that work around us because we're caught up in our own shit, from not taking care of ourselves, from, you know, prioritizing, you know, the guests' happiness over our long-term sustainability and enjoyment. What does the future of hospitality look like to you, and how do we get there?
I mean, I think I kind of already said my piece earlier about what I hope it looks like in a year, so I'll let Damián answer it.
You know, so the question is, what is the future of hospitality?
Yeah. Well, what does it look like to you? Like in a ideal world, what do you want the future of hospitality to look like?
So I think we can all agree right now that we can't, well, let's put it this way, these huge dining halls, for example, that were like Michelin star, James Beard award winning, amazing places, are kind of dying just because out of necessity and what we're able to hold in terms of capacity. So now we have the industry pivoting and downscaling, whether it's downscaling their labor, downscaling their menu. You know, we have people out here in LA that are buying old ice cream trucks and making them into food trucks, you know what I mean? And yet we still receive the same level of hospitality as you would at this globally renowned, amazing establishment. You know, what I'm trying to get at is it shouldn't matter the scale or the perception of what an establishment has, so long as the common ground is hospitality, making people feel welcome, and most importantly, making people want to come back. You can take a hole in the wall, call it a dive bar or like a pop-up for this 2-3 item food menu, and you're gonna have a line around the corner of the street. You know, there's a reason why. You know, I have this running joke with Othón. It's like, you can give us a lemonade stand on the fucking corner and we're gonna have a line around the block, because yeah, we're just selling lemonade, but people take something else with them than just an ice cold, amazing, delicious, refreshing lemonade. It's the sense of community. It's the sense of belonging to something bigger than what they anticipated about themselves. You know, it's the idea of people don't go to places, they go to bartenders, they go to chefs, they go to individuals, because there's a sense of therapy and refuge there, right? So that's hospitality. Well, for us, for our organization, for our team, we're bringing this shit to the streets. We're not confounded by walls and a door. Every single person that drives through our drive-through format, through our distribution sites, feels at ease, feels at home. They get offered water. At one point, it was, do you want sparkling or still? You know, they get their food, and we're like the highlight of their week 12 months into this shit, you know? And they're like, whoa, I feel like this is like going to a restaurant or going to my favorite, you know? That's what we want, whether it's a bakery, a restaurant, a bar. I think that's what we need to keep in mind and not lose sight of amidst this pandemic, and as long as it takes moving forward.
Oh yeah. And what, like, more specifically, what does your guys' future look like?
We're gonna keep this going. I mean, food, once you get vetted.
Yeah, we get that, we get asked that.
Go ahead, bro.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Pass the mic.
Oh, I had a little bit of a delay. Sorry, I thought you asked what our future looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get asked that a lot, and you know, it's not that we wouldn't do the right project as far as consulting and operating. It's just, it's so far out of our mind right now, because we often talk about, hey, who's gonna be able to afford us? Because, you know, everyone wants dope shit, but nobody wants to pay for it. So
Yeah.
we're not gonna give our all to a project and pay and get paid a discounted rate. So that's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
But
fuck
so
yeah,
many
get paid.
people are gonna be willing to undercut us because, you know, times is tough. Yeah, 2 words, right? Fuck you, pay me. So you know, the thing is that we really like what we're doing, you know, and likes the software. There's never been a point in my life where I get up and I feel fucking terrible most days because I don't sleep very well, but I feel great when I see little kids come through our drive-through line, and I just see the sense of relief on the families' faces. You know, Damián gets to speak to families every day, and I don't. That's his wheelhouse. And when I see families just even for a moment, like a little bit of a relief, I know that we're all doing a good job. So we don't want to stop doing this. We just need to get a bigger boat and get more attention to our 501c3 so that we can build it and help more people. We just want to help more people.
Yeah, this is our new career choice. I mean, it's gonna take a lot for us to go back to making margaritas and Manhattans, which we still love. I mean, we do it all the time at home, especially. But for us to stop doing what we're doing currently, and go back to something like that for now, it just doesn't make sense at this time. We want to do it. We don't have to do it, but we want to. And at this point, it's safe to say it's more of like a social responsibility we have, not just to the undocumented sector, but also to our hospitality industry.
Yeah, I mean, what you guys are doing is so incredibly important and valuable right now. I mean, it's, you know, working in kitchens here. I beginning of the pandemic saw it all the time, just like everyone wondering what they're gonna do. But then there's a whole segment of people in the kitchen that are just like, you guys have a safety net. We don't have anything. So it's amazing that you guys are building that safety net for them.
It's also amazing. I'm just gonna say it, and I know I shouldn't say it, but I don't care. It's also amazing because when we entered like the nonprofit world, I naively thought that there were a bunch of people like you out there who are like all in it for the love of the game, and we're all like-minded people who are just out here like trying to make like a small impact and do the best we can with the resources that we have. And I think we found very quickly that that is not the case. So it is very refreshing, and I personally can't wait for the other side of all of these things, and when we can eventually go to LA and connect with you, because I feel like so grateful to have this conversation, and I was just like screaming inside the entire time with joy, because it's just really nice to know that you're not crazy and that there are people out there who are truly doing it for the love of the people. And I'm really grateful to have people like you in LA, helping these folks. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're happy to serve.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you guys have any other things that you want to pass on to our listeners? Any other words of advice?
Damián?
Just listen to one another. And as Othón had mentioned to you guys earlier, I mean, if we could do it, you guys can do it too. We don't have to over intellectualize how to help people. You just have to not be afraid of doing the work and living outside of your comfort zone and steering into uncharted territory. You know, like I said, if you're willing to do the work, and you yourself, chances are of an immigrant background, because no one is from here in this country unless you're of native or indigenous descent. I don't care if your great granddaddy came from Poland, or your uncle came from the Caribbean, or you came from Bolivia. You know, everyone has that common story. So let's just fucking help each other, bro. We have a saying, it's be nice, work hard, and do dope shit. And if you follow that same sentiment,
Hell yeah.
fucking go have at it. Take it from us and run with that shit, man. Like, let's go.
That's the fucking shit right
If
there. I
you
love
guys
that.
need t-shirts, I'll buy one.
Yeah, for real.
We'll get on that. Get on that. One thing I do want to say is that we just kind of finalized yesterday, so it was like 6 months of work on their end, and then coordinating with us. But Lindsay from Lush Life, Portland Cocktail Week, in partnership with Campari, we're going to be doing 6 seminars in Spanish, which is great because we're going to be able to reach the audience that we serve, and we have been talking about, what are the topics going to be of these seminars, and we don't just want it to be like, oh, well, let's learn how to make syrups in Spanish and talk about that, because they're all the ones that do that prep work. But we really want to use this as an empowering tool, and make sure that the people that are in this industry who now are maybe a bar back, like our director of operations, that when he started with us and he was a food runner, and every place we've gone, he's come with us and he's moved up, and like he's the one person that I've never been upset at in my life. Like I don't want to say I'm hard to please, but I am very particular, as Damián will tell you. But he's great, and he's a great example of people in our industry are so talented, and just because they're green doesn't mean that you can't coach them up and give them chances to lead and eventually succeed. So this will just be that version in Spanish. It won't be patronizing, or it's not going to be phoned in, if you will.
Nice.
It's amazing. Congratulations. Guys, really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. Really, like,
Thanks
just
for having
what
us.
you guys are doing is
Appreciate it.
Absolutely amazing. I know it's
Thank
something
you for
that
giving us your platform and spreading the word of our cause and amplifying this message.
Yeah, anytime.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah, for sure. Like, this is, I don't think a lot of people in our industry really understand exactly how important what you guys are doing is, and how important these people are to the continuance and growth of our industry. It's just like they are fully the backbone of what we're doing, and we've got to respect that and give help where we can. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and remember to not only please hustle responsibly, but also give a shit.